So hey, there are minor spoilers for the Batman. Oh yeah, also for Batman Arkham Knight. Yeah, I talk a lot about Batman in this video. So, movies. We love them. We hate them. But above all else, everyone watches them. It really is rare to have something that this many people in the world care about. And with such a big sample size, we also get a crazy amount of opinions flying everywhere. I am a fellow movie enjoyer, and so I kind of just wanted to get on here and take a second to think over some of the common things that make a movie special to me. Mainly because I like to think about this sort of stuff, but also to hopefully see how differently my brain looks at this as opposed to other people. So I'm not just gonna talk about 10 out of 10s. I also want to talk about what makes a 1, a 5, you know, just the whole philosophy of a rating scale. And yeah, why the hell am I wasting your time? Let's go.
The Rubric.
Is this a racist cartoon?
Okay, so for the most part here, I'm going to be using the standard 10-point scale. 5-point scalers, just do some mental translations to get over it. At the core, we have 10 points that should ideally have different feelings associated with them. Now, I think that the most important number to start at is, well, 10. Because really, that's the number that shapes everything. But we've already hit a hurdle, because now we have to talk about objectivity versus subjectivity. Is this movie fire because of how I feel the quality is? Or because of simply how it made me feel as a person? I feel like in the modern day, people really favor the objectivity side of things, especially with like movie critics. They get respected if they leave their feelings out of it as much as possible. Here's the thing that's always bugged me about that though. To do that, to look back retroactively on an experience you had with the movie and trying to Frankenstein any possible outside factors or biases, that just leads to a review that caters to an audience that might not exist. If you were kind of slow watching, say, The Batman, and you thought when he said, "I'm Vengeance," that his actual name was Vengeance, like Bob Vengeance was his full name or something, and you don't realize until the very end when Riddler's goons say, "I'm Vengeance," back to him, at the end of the movie, that was supposed to be a metaphorical thing. You would probably be nicer on the movie and treat your unique situation as a skill issue that shouldn't be factored. But here's the thing. By ignoring how that information was presented to you, you cannot give a full explanation of your thoughts to the movie anymore. You can't give an opinion on whether the movie was too dense or too vague with its themes. Now granted, that was a stupid, really extreme example. But the point is, I think a lot of people want to say that a 10 out of 10 movie on IMDb or on Letterboxd is a 10 for them without really factoring it in what it is that they liked about it. It is easy to look at the average of a movie like Avengers Infinity War and say, wow, a 4.0. That must mean this is an 8 out of 10. I mean, you'd be kind of right. But also, if you take a step back and look at the whole graph, you see this. 8 is the most popular score, but only barely to the 10, and quite a big chunk of people also bounce around between all of the later half scores. And some movies can be even more extreme with this as well. Another thing too, what if the only people that saw the movie were diehard fans that would love it anyway? Wouldn't that skewer the results? Sometimes a movie may not really be marketed towards you, and that will mean you won't like it as much as others. Now, I'm not saying that people are lying to themselves if they say they only like one type of thing. I think anything, regardless of genre, medium, or age, can be great if done well and have a chance to be a 10 out of 10. But I think a great way of rethinking what a 10 is for me is to, instead of calling 10s perfect or masterpieces, I instead call them for me. One of my favorite video games of all time is Batman Arkham Knight. And I think, personally, that some of the stuff in that game just is not great. I actually don't hate the story of the game, or the art style, or the usage of the Batmobile that much. but compared to the combat and stealth of the game, which I actually think is perfect, I feel kind of bad thinking about how I have this game higher rated than a lot of games that I've played that probably do deserve to be a little bit higher than this. I actually really don't like these boss fights too. That's an actual thing I dislike about a top 10 game of mine. But if instead of saying my top 10 was the 10 most perfect games I've ever played, and I said the 10 best games for me, then suddenly it feels like the list is more personalized. And I don't want to outright say that by calling 10 out of 10s for you games that you're now highly emotional and should be discredited for your opinion. I think being a critic is more about being able to justify and help put into words what your biases and preferences are and what you see and perceive. While a lot of Arkham Knight is kind of mid, I think the gameplay of it is definitely for me. But then that begs the question, what's not for me?
A 2-pack of ass.
All right, so my rating scale is out of enjoyment. We've established that. So what does it take to make a movie bad? On first glance, this seems like a no-brainer. If it hits the opposite of what a 10 makes me feel, then that's it. But what exactly does that look like? So let's take a look at two movies, Fan 4 Stick and Axum. Fan 4 Stick, I think, is abysmal. I think the characters have no life. The movie looks ugly. The energy completely zapped. And the writing is...
that Adolf?
Still not German, and we don't need any more help.
rough. I see this movie and I can say, yeah, this is really bad. I want to turn off my TV instead of going anymore. So now how about we look at Axum? What could this movie possibly look like?
Oh, shit.
Oh. Wow. So, by all accounts, that movie is easily worse than Fan 4 Stick. I cannot tell what the hell is even going on. Like, what even is this, bro? But if it sucks so much, then why do I kind of like it? So Bad It's Good movies is a specific subgenre of movies that infinitely hurt my brain whenever I try to think about them. If a movie is worse than the worst, why do we feel inclined to want to give it a higher score as a reward? Isn't saying a movie that is so bad it's good like telling people that a movie just being a little bit bad, maybe even just boring, is the truest bottom of the barrel? And you know, now my head gets all twisted because shouldn't boring neutral movies be somewhere in the middle of your number score? So you know what, whatever, I'll just include So Bad It's Good movies in with the rest of the shot. I don't discriminate, put them all there. In my head, there are different types of 1 out of 10s, the awful kind and the funny kind, but that's exactly it. They're different types of 1 out of 10s. They're still just that, 1 out of 10s. So I rate based on enjoyment, and I enjoy good movies. Bada bing, bada boom, it all works out. That's pretty good, I'd say. And just like that, we got 1 down. That was way quicker than number 10, you know? How many we got left? Oh, frick. We got 8 whole other numbers.
I was in the forest wrestling with a bear claw when we got the call.
Okay, so I was low-key trolling a bit. The rest of the numbers aren't that hard. But there is one last thing I wanted to talk about. What number should be the boring number? When a movie makes you feel no hatred or no love, what number do you give that movie? Now I feel, at least for most people in the West, where I live, I will get quite a bit of people that say 7 out of 10. I think that comes down to how the school systems here are organized, because over here, a true 50% is failure, and a C is just passing, which requires, you guessed it, 70%. I've never really agreed with this, because from a simple logical perspective, it would make sense that you want just as many bad numbers as you do good numbers for more range, right? Like, sure, moving it to a 5 isn't perfect either, because you now have 5 good numbers, 1 neutral number, and 4 bad numbers. But I think unless your heart is made of steel, it probably is better to have more positive numbers since you're just going to see more movies you like. And that kind of leads to why I was compelled to make this video. You know, if you're watching this, that probably means you like movies or maybe other types of art, just a little bit. Or you're one of my personal friends and family. And if so, hi. I felt for a long time that a lot of people are kind of afraid of their scoring being too aggressive or too nice. I've had friends with scores only from 7 to 9 out of 10 with everything they consume. And I think that just kind of limits the discussion with movies a bit. I know a lot of people don't want to look like haters, which is a common fear. And you know, it is true. I get that. Some people will take it the wrong way. But in my eyes, we're all here talking about these movies because we like them. So why are we afraid of giving off the idea that we don't like movies? You just sat through an 8-minute video on movies. So I think, you know, at least to me, I can already tell you like the hobby. Like a little bit, you know, at least a little bit. So be honest with yourself, you know, and on the flip side, it is okay to be genuinely moved by a movie that doesn't seem so out there. If it genuinely makes you feel that way and you genuinely believe it is of quality, then go off. Just, you know, don't go too crazy, okay? But what do you guys think? Do you guys have a favorite movie? Let me know. And goodbye.